Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, here to discuss week 1 of the preseason for the Tennessee Titans. And some of us were very much so looking forward to this first preseason game. And to be honest, it wasn't great. It wasn't great in terms of the things that we saw. Now, I don't want to overreact, and I won't. I'm not going to overreact. And we're going to get to the whole, it's going to be the main topic of the video, the whole Malik Willis versus Will Levis thing. I just have a problem with the number of turnovers, the horrible offensive line play, and oh my God, the awfully blown coverages on defense. And some people were coming at me on Twitter saying, look, it's only week 1 of the preseason. Look, I've watched a lot of preseason games in my life. Too many, way too many in my life. This was one of the sloppiest performances I've ever seen, ever. And from some people that I would expect more from, some people I wouldn't. But I'm just like, bruh. So we finished with, 4 turnovers? Now, the last one we don't necessarily have to count. And then the 2 blown coverages, we finished with allowing 8 sacks. Guys, that is not normal, okay? 8 sacks, 4 turnovers, 2 blown coverages. That's not normal. That's too much. That's too many turnovers. That's too many blown cover. Well, number of blown coverages, I guess it's fine. I just hate that they both had to come back to back. And now, granted, it was against the Bears' first team offense. It was against Justin Fields, although he didn't do anything. And it was against DJ Moore and Khalil Herbert. But really, 2 blown coverages, 4 turnovers, and 8 sacks? It's just a little ridiculous. Just a little. I would have been fine with, 2 turnovers, 2 blown coverages, and 5 sacks. That would have been bad. This was awful. 8 sacks, 4 sacks to each of our backup quarterbacks. Can't protect them worth a damn. It's like, were we even prepared to play today? Now, our offense did some things. We put up 17 points, and it easily could have been 24, and we easily could have won the game. So, despite all that, we were still in it, and we could have won. But, and again, a large part of our starters, especially defensively, went out there. But from our backups, I expected more than this because it was just unprepared as far as I was concerned. Now, let's get to the juicy stuff. So, Malik Willis versus Will Levis, round 1. Fight. Who was the winner today? Now, this is my opinion. The winner today, because he had more opportunities, is Willis. But the winner long term is Levis. Now, let me explain as to what I mean. It concerns me that some of the problems with Malik Willis we are still seeing. He's still having problems holding onto the football. He's still having problems, in the pocket to a certain extent. Although he was staying in the pocket maybe a little bit too much, but still having problems, not really staying in the pocket, but with some of his pocket awareness and knowing when the pocket is actually collapsing, when that sack is going to be there, which caused the fumble. He's still overshooting guys. And I don't know if this is just a byproduct of him only being 6'1", and he just always felt like he has to have a strong liftoff and strong velocity. Otherwise, it's just not going to, get there or whatever it is. But the interception for him, to me, was more on him. I give him 70%, maybe 80% of that interception. The pass for Josh Wiley was simply too high. It was too high. Josh Wiley is 6'7", and he jumped. Okay? Now, and he's a rookie. So, would it be nice for him to come down with that sort of catch? Yes. And some elite tight ends in this league will come down with that catch. Most will not. You're kind of hanging your tight end out to dry when you literally ask him to jump as high as he can and jump if he's 6'7", too, for God's sake. And the fact that it was a speed ball. Let's hypothetically say that it was more of a lofted ball and that ball had more touch on it. Then you'd have more of an argument. I might drop that down to 50%, maybe even 40%. If it was actually lofted up, and let's say, because let's say it was like this. Again, let's say it had more touch. And let's say Wiley, as soon as he touched it, the ball just went flat down. Okay, no, the ball zipped through Josh Wiley's hands because it had way too much speed on it. So for it to have that much speed at that much height, he's not going to make the catch 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10. He's just not going to. He's not going to. It was too fast, too high, too quick. That's what it was. So it was on Malik. Now Wiley tried to catch it, and it touched his hands. But it would have been a great catch, okay? I'm not expecting Wiley to make great catches yet. If he makes one, great. I'm not going to expect him to make great catches yet. So it was more on Willis than Levis. But in Willis's defense, he's the one that had the touchdown today. He's the one that he almost had another touchdown drive. And at the very end there, his last drive, I don't know if the false start was on him. It seemed like that was more on the right guard, and that was his fault for not knowing the snap count, so I'm not going to blame him for that. The 2nd and 8, what was the 2nd and 8? It should have just been, it was obviously incomplete. I know that. I just can't remember what the specific play was right now. The 3rd one was kind of a throwaway, and, I think, which one was the 2nd and which one was the 3rd one? I want to say that the 2nd down one was in the back of the end zone. The 3rd down one was to Julius Chestnut on the left-hand side, which I knew he was waiting for that check down. Yeah, it was the 3rd down. He was waiting for that check down, and just as, Chestnut is going to make the break route for that check down, you saw the pressure come in, so he had to evade a little bit. And then the check down was late. So I'm going to blame that on the pressure. And then his last attempt there, at least he got the ball out. I was concerned he wasn't going to get the ball out. So I'm happy he gave his wide receiver a chance. And I guess that's all you can really ask. Because, now the better play. And again, he's trying to be more of a pocket passer. So I don't want to blame him for that. The better play in that circumstance is just to extend the play a little bit. Because the window wasn't great. I would have ran to the right a little bit, extend, pretty similar to what he did on the 2nd down play. And then wait for someone to really get open because Holmes was not open. He gave him a shot, but he wasn't open. So but that drive up to that point was a great drive. That was the best he might have looked in a Titans uniform. Hitting guys over the middle, moving them down the field. It was the best drive of the game. He had the best 2 drives of the game. So I can't sit here and say that Levis wins today when Willis had the 2 best drives of the day. He had the 2 best drives. He had the touchdown drive where he ran it in, and he had the late drive where we almost got a touchdown, almost won the game. So he had the better day. If I had to rate it, it's still only like a B- though, because the fumble and the interception were on him, and maybe a C+. And then Levis, it's only a C+ because he just didn't see much. Now, from what we saw, it was fine. There's nothing really to complain about other than he had one pass that could have easily been picked off. That was on his first drive. Could have easily been picked off, and then his stat line looks way worse than it does. With the one interception that he has right now, don't even blame him. It was near the game, just trying to do something. But he did have one pass that could have been picked off. And of all of them, both of them, no, Willis had a bad pass too. Although he was kind of hit on one pass that was over the right side. I think he was trying to hit Mason Kinsey. But Will Levis had an awful screen pass, a dirter. I'm just like, this is what's so frustrating, because sometimes I'm just like, dude, how can you not hit these screen passes, dog? What the hell are you doing? So I probably give a C+ to both of them. But Willis has a slight edge. Now, but why does this give Levis the better age long term? Levis is younger. Levis hasn't proven that he will look completely incapable out there at times. And again, he's the higher draft pick. So to me, Malik Willis lost ground today. I think he lost ground today. I think he had an opportunity. I think if he doesn't throw that interception, if he throws a nice pass to Wiley, they get in or for a touchdown or just even a field goal, and you remove that in the fumble, I think he would have had a step today. But the problem is he can't afford at this point to have these turnovers. Not at this point, and certainly not multiple turnovers in a game. He can't afford it. Not at this point. With Will Levis being the higher drafted draft pick, he cannot afford to have these turnovers, and yet he had these turnovers. This is going to make Vrabel trust him less and less. I mean, if that's even possible. And they're going to trust Will Levis more and more. So I'm slightly disappointed because you saw he was so close today. Like, he looks improved as a passer. But Will Levis is already more functional and technically sound as a passer right off rip. The one thing you got to give Levis, man, he has that arm. He looks good in that Titans uniform. He has his guns out. He has his stupid tattoo. Sorry, it's stupid. And he looks the part. One thing I don't like is whenever he tucks and runs, it literally looks like Jake Locker. It literally looks like Jake Locker whenever he used to tuck it and run. I'm like, oh my God, we have Locker all over again. But just the way it literally looks, not even that they're similar runners, although I see similarities. And also, the fact of the matter is, it still at this point looks, and it's fine. Look, I mean, we live in an NFL now where Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. Lamar Jackson has won an MVP. So I don't even want to disparage or say anything bad about his running ability. But it still does look like he will always need, maybe not always, but at least, especially early in his career, his legs are always going to have to be a function of his game. Levis, not necessarily. And for what they want to win Tim Kelly, that serves Levis more than Willis. So I think Levis now is the odds-on favorite. And today, I think the official series count was Malik Willis had 7 series. I know that for a fact. And Will Levis had 5 or 6. And the last one I am counting as 6. I think that was the 6th one. Some people were asking, why is Willis getting way more opportunities than Levis? I mean, the series were about equal. He got one more opportunity, and the one more opportunity was at the end of the game. They decided, okay, we could go back to Levis here to make it 6-6. Instead, we're going to go to Willis here. He had the longer drives today. Levis had some 3 and outs. So I think that's just the way it shook out. I don't think that was intentional. And I expect Levis to probably start next week and get more opportunities if he has longer drives. If he doesn't have longer drives, then the stat line is still not going to look even. But in terms of the number of series, it was about even. It was either 7-5 or 7-6. The number of series was about even. It's just the number of throws wasn't, because Levis was getting killed a little bit more than Willis, especially and particularly early on. And then Willis started getting killed. And it's also difficult to evaluate these guys when the offensive line is so awful. It's so terrible. I'm so sick of it. I'm tired of watching it. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And it's just hard to evaluate these guys under those circumstances because, you want them to sit back and make some damn throws, and they can't do it because these guys can't block. Speaking of, so Jalen Duncan, look, I liked him coming out of Maryland. I really liked him as a 6th-round pick. Well, okay. He's still going to need some time. Looked pretty bad. And, I mean, I don't know what offensive linemen look good. I mean, I guess the first unit looked good. Actually looked pretty decent, actually. So you can have some confidence in Diller, Skoronski, Brewer, even Chris Hubbard, and Brunskill. They actually look decent. The first unit looked good. We saw them for a series. The other units did not. And that's a problem. Nicholas Patrice-Fair was in the 3rd unit, which was crazy, boy. But he didn't look bad. The other ones looked awful. It was really just the other ones that were just terrible. So our backup offensive linemen are a joke. And it's going to be hard to evaluate these quarterbacks further considering that. But, yeah, the other good thing that you saw, though, I did like the running backs. Julius Chestnut looks good. I mean, at this point, with Hassan Haskins' issues, and Hassan Haskins, while he had a touchdown today, you don't see any burst from this guy. Even on the kick returns, he wasn't particularly impressive. What did he have? Do they have the kick return stats on here? He had two, kickbacks for 20 yards each. Whatever. He was outdone literally by everyone else. So there you go with him and his issues off the field. Hassan Haskins, it's been nice knowing you. Wish we didn't spend a 4th round pick on you, but GG, just cut our losses and get rid of them. Tyjae Spears. So he looked a little interesting. You saw a little bit of shiftiness, ability to bounce back, ability to move from Tyjae Spears. Liked saying that. Didn't love him at the goal line. Okay, at the goal line, came up a little small. No pun intended. But, luckily we still have Derrick Henry. So he's not going to be down there anyway. But whenever we have to move on from Derrick Henry, is Tyjae Spears going to be a goal line guy? Didn't look like it today. I'll give him more opportunities. Did not look like it. But in the open field, he looked good. Looked good on the return. Looked good on the run or two. And looked good from the routes that I saw him run. We also saw some things from the passing game. So at last, we're seeing some things from Racey McMath. Now, I don't want anyone to get their damn hopes up because he's still dropping passes in camp. And, so that's still very much so a problem. But at least he had 3 catches on 3 targets. And then Mason Kinsey played well in little spot. The wide receivers are actually very good, for what we needed them to do. I mean, was there even a drop? Okay, some people are saying the Wiley thing was a drop. I mean, if you want to, I don't consider that a drop. And then in the Gavin Holmes ones, the Levis one to Gavin Holmes, that's not a drop. It's just, it hit his hand, at least one hand, but he was dying. What do you want him? Really? That's a very difficult catch to make. That's not a drop. It would have been nice, but it's not a drop. So no drops. And yeah, that was good to see. Colton Dowell had 1 catch and he got hurt. So hopefully that's not too bad. We also saw Shake Brown on the defensive line get hurt. So hopefully he is all right. I liked the catch from Chris Moore. By the way, and I don't want to be too harsh because, by the way, Malik Willis' first throw to start this game was great. Oh, it was great. It started off strong, man. That's why I wanted him to keep it going, but then those mistakes came through. But when he, moved to the right, and then as soon as Chris Moore broke on his route and he hit Chris Moore over the middle for 30 yards, I was like, boom, let's get this offense rocking and rolling. That was a beautiful play, beautiful design, beautiful throw, beautiful catch, beautiful play. And it could have maybe even, let him a little bit further, but it was still where it needed to be. So, there are things that I liked today. It's just a mistake. I mean, you're talking 4 turnovers. By the way, Wiley with the fumble. I mean, my God. On a play where he knew he was going to get hit. Chris Moore almost had a fumble on a play where he didn't know he was going to get hit. But still, you're a veteran, dude. Always have the ball in a safe position. You should know that better than anybody. And then Levis almost picked off. It could have been 6 turnovers today in a world, in the multiverse, instead of the 4 that we had, or even 7. So it's just so many mistakes. And again, I guess you have to shake off some nerves, first live action duty, but this is a lot. I mean, it's just a lot of 8 sacks. This is a lot. It wasn't what I wanted to see. Again, now, the success of this team is literally coming down to Tannehill, Henry, and DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, and Traylon Burks, really, and Chick, and guys like that. And the first offensive line. So none of this matters, except for the future when we're looking at Willis and Levis and some of these other guys. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm like, oh, well, now I'm coming off the team. In fact, if anything, I'm encouraged because our offensive line actually looked good against the Bears starting defensive line. They actually were starting a lot of their guys. So I'm actually fine with still picking this to be a wild card-ish team. I'm not backing off that at all. I'm just like, the chance. And look, if he kills it for the rest of the preseason, you know what? He could still win quarterback 2, maybe. But I think Malik Willis kind of blew it. With these 2 turnovers today, I don't think he could have afforded that. If you would have told me before today he is having 2 turnovers, I'm like, I think that's it. And I don't know, man. He's going to have to kill it for the rest of the preseason if he wants to be a better quarterback too. But I do think he's going to remain on the team. Or at the very least, you can trade him for something. Yeah, this guy could be traded for something because, he's better and it has way more potential than like a Logan Woodside or any of this crap like that. But I also can't tell you that he's better than Deshaun Kaiser. And in his heyday, which was like his rookie year. I can't tell you that. And by the way, I actually kind of like Deshaun Kaiser coming out of Notre Dame, and that's an L for me. And I can't tell you that he's better than that. And I stuck around waiting for Kaiser to show more and more, and I waited, and then there came a certain point where I couldn't wait anymore. And actually the NFL can't anymore, and now he's just barely trying to make the league. Now, I think Willis has still way more trade value than that, but yeah, anyway, I want to run a poll on this. So let's run an official poll. This is the first poll. And you guys can ask me comments in the chat. Should have Josh Wiley come down with that catch? Let's ask that because I really want to know what my audience thinks. I'm sure other audiences have other polls and other things running. I want to know what my audience think. So Josh Wiley have come down with that catch. So that'll be the first poll, and then we'll do a poll on who performed better to you. And again, I mean, Levis, you didn't see much, so you might just win by default. It depends how you view Willis' performance. I give it a C+, and then I give Will Levis a C+, just because there wasn't anything for him to do. So I just barely give it to Levis or Willis because he had more plays that he made. He had the two best drives, but we will see. All right, so the poll is out there. Feel free to vote on the poll. If you have any comments for me, at me in the chat at SportsFan Entertainment. By the way, this is so ridiculous. This is what you can notice about the damned mainstream media, who are going crazy because Justin Fields was 3 for 3, 129 yards. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 158.3 passer rating. What a load of horse. You know what? This guy threw behind the line of scrimmage on both of his touchdowns that combined for over 100 yards. What a bunch of BS that the media and Bears fans are just going to throw out there like a bunch of chumps. Now, if you want to tell me that, hey, this is a good sign about DJ Moore, fine. I'm totally fine. DJ Moore, hey, he turned on the Jets and he got it pushing and moving down the field 100% for DJ Moore. I don't want to hear anything about Justin Fields today. Nothing at all. I don't want to hear anything about Justin Fields today. It's ridiculous. But people are already anointing this guy who went 3-14 last year as some sort of dark horse MVP. What a bunch of junk. Justin Fields, until I say so, stinks and is one of the bottom 12 quarterbacks in the league, at the very least. They went 3-14 last year with this guy for a reason. He has better weapons around him, and his stats will look better. Today was no indication that Justin Fields is going anywhere or doing anything. Okay? There was absolutely no indication of that. What a bunch of junk that people are throwing out there on that. Outside of that, Rashawn Johnson had like one nice play. Khalil Herbert, same thing. He had the nice touchdown. Yeah, our backup defense was quite awful. I don't really care about any of these guys, so I'm not really going to spend any time on it. Eric Garror played well. Elijah Molden, I didn't like some of his positional plays, and considering he's someone that's actually going to get playing time, that was a little concerning. I liked to play from Luke Gifford on special teams. That was a big one. It was Gifford, right? Or was that someone else? Yeah, it should have been Gifford. And let's see, any of these other guys that I really want to mention? Not really. Rashad Weaver, tackle for loss. Good for him. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, no one played. None of these guys are relevant. I'm not gonna stick around and talk about all of these guys, but it'll be interesting to see though if Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is gonna make this team. Oh, and then, by the way, at a certain point, we do need to really test out Kyle Phillips. Like, what is this guy? Everyone keeps, oh, at training camp he looks so good. Oh, you gotta see him at train. Oh, well, every time he's out there, he doesn't do anything. Now he didn't get many snaps today or an opportunity. He got one target, but at a certain point, this guy's gonna have to do something. Otherwise, I'm gonna get sick of it. Okay. Doesn't have to do in the preseason necessarily, but we're gonna have to see that. So, the poll came down as 88% that Josh Wiley should have come down with the catch. Wow, that is shocking. That is shocking. I have to disagree with the audience on that one. I really have to disagree with the audience on that one. And then let's start another poll. Who performed better today? Yeah, 88% for Josh Wiley coming down with that. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Oh, and another thing, the fact that this can I delete that? There we go. The fact that this Justin Fields is even out there right now, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. Okay? I mean, he was out there for 2 series. I mean, come on. They know the guy needs work. Okay? He needs work. So I'm not trying to hear everyone talk about Justin Fields and blah, 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 blah. Why is he playing in the first preseason game? Ryan Tannehill ain't playing in the first preseason game. Trevor Lawrence ain't playing in the first preseason game. Joe Burrow ain't, well, he's injured. Because he's not there yet. He still needs work, and that's fine. Daniel Jones won't even play in the first preseason game. The Giants have seen everything they need to see with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones ain't gonna be playing in the first preseason game. I think they already played, and he didn't. So, yeah. By the way, let me see how Bryce Young is doing. Bryce Young, 4'6", 21 yards. Very modest, only a quarter in, but he's probably already pulled at this point. I actually wanted to see a little bit more. Oh, speaking of, let's discuss the AFC South and how the other quarterbacks are faring in the AFC South. So we also had and saw a couple things. So CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson had some struggles. Now, unfortunately, Levis also threw an interception, but at least ours was a VS interception. Those, on the other hand, were real interceptions. CJ Stroud threw a horrible pass in his preseason debut, as did Anthony Richardson. Now, Richardson bounced back because they kept him in the game. He actually ended up leading a decent drive and threw a 40-yard, pretty accurate pass to Alec Pierce, who did not come down with it. It could have even been a 40-yard touchdown. So you saw with Anthony Richardson the ups and downs. You saw how erratic he can be. And sometimes he can, look like an absolute stud. He can hit, wide receivers deep down the field, do his thing, do what he needs to do. And then sometimes he can look absolutely awful. So you saw both sides of Anthony Richardson. Stroud, I don't think you've seen enough. I think Stroud was late on the throw. I think he was nervous. And I think that got the best of him. But it's always fun to see other AFC South quarterbacks struggling. So it looks like Bryce Young is the only rookie quarterback that's going to leave the first, week of the preseason without throwing an interception. So at least that's something that he can say. Good for him for that. But again, Will Levis didn't have a real interception. It was, I don't know what the hell he saw. Considering the fact he was just trying to move us down the field, I have absolutely no problem with that. So, the poll. Wow. Okay, so most people already agreed with me on the poll that in terms of who performed better today, Willis versus Levis, 72%. Now back down to, 72%. 72% of people saying Malik Willis performed better today over Will Levis. So most people agree. Again, it's barely. He played more. He had more opportunities. In the next game, we should see a difference there. Speaking of, the next game is next Saturday. It's next Saturday night. Damn it. But I'll be here. It's at the Vikings, and we will see how he performs in that matchup. I am optimistic. The Vikings. Well, I mean, this is a game where theoretically Tannehill and et cetera should play too, though. At least a couple of series. So, expect to see those guys out there as well. And we'll see how that goes. I just need to see less turnovers. Like, this was a little ridiculous. And, especially just because look, either one, Willis may not even be on the team. I don't know. But at this point, he shouldn't be having 2 turnovers. Wiley is a rookie, but a decently drafted rookie, 5th round, but one that we're having expectations on. He should be the number 2 or 3 tight end in terms of snaps. Hopefully 2, but maybe only 3. But we're expecting him to make some plays, and if Chick goes down, we're expecting him to be the big pass-catching tight end. Him having a fumble is not good. I don't like that. I don't like him having a fumble. I don't like the blown coverages, even from our backup defensive players, because those plays weren't even close. Like, it was like, wow, these weren't even close. What the hell happened there? I'll give credit to the defensive line. I think they did well against the run. I think when we went down to the red zone, we did well. I think, because we got down to 14-7 start, and then after that, they only scored so many points. But I'd want to say a little better than this. This wasn't particularly buttoned up. Again, it doesn't matter. This team is either going to go 9-8 or 10-7 or 11-6 or 8-9 or 7-10 because of Tannehill, Henry, Traylon, DeAndre Hopkins, and the offensive line and the defense and Simmons, all of those guys. That's going to be the reason. None of these guys matter. But we were intrigued about this quarterback battle. We got it. And unfortunately, today, little underwhelmed. It could have been there. Without the turnovers, it would have been there for me. I would have been so happy for Malik if he would have, instead of hitting a Wiley high, which again, people are saying it was Wiley's fault, but if he would have hit Wiley a little bit lower and he gets that touchdown there and he doesn't fumble, we're talking about Malik Willis gets an A today. We're talking about he's blowing Will Levis out of the water. We're talking about we got 2 potential franchise quarterbacks on the bench. And instead of having this conversation, we're instead having the conversation of, we're still seeing some of the same problems with Malik. And that's a little disappointing. So that's going to do it for me here, MJ Sports Fan Entertainment. What are your thoughts and takeaways from the Titans' first preseason game against the Chicago Bears? Comment down below. I want to know if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. Until next time, I'm out. See you all later.